You awaken from a coma. Instead of relief or happiness, a wave of overwhelming revulsion assaults your senses. The walls are masses of flesh, covered in oozing cysts and lesions. The air is thick with the stench of decay, a blend of rotten meat and blood. A monstrous, slimy creature emerges, reeking worse than the decaying environment that surrounds it. It spits out a garbled noise, a grotesque parody of human speech. This hellish world is your new reality, an unending torment that you can't escape. But the most terrifying realization of all is that this nightmare's vision is the real world, the world you've always lived in. You're just experiencing it in a complete, twisted way. After days of suffering, you see her, a radiant bloom amidst the rotting carcasses. Saya. Saya no Uta, or Song of Saya as it's titled in English, is a visual novel developed by Japanese studio Nitro Plus, all the way back in 2003. Inspired by Lovecraftian horror, it tells a chilling tale of a man's descent into madness and the effect he has on those around him. Saya no Uta is my favorite visual novel, and it holds a very special place in my heart. I first experienced it as a teenager, and it had a profound impact on my personal growth. To me, it's more than just a game. It's a work of art, where the narrative, characters, sound design, music, and visuals all intertwine, elevating one another to create an experience that is truly unique and unforgettable. Hey, my name is Not Leon, and this is why you should play Saya no Uta. Saya is the work of famed author Gen Urobuchi, often affectionately referred to by fans as the Butcher or Urobucher. If you're familiar with anime, you might recognize his name from a certain well-known magical girl series, notorious for the relentless suffering of its characters. Lots and lots and lots of suffering. Urobuchi once lamented how horror films had increasingly shifted towards action, where villains were more focused on rampaging than they were terrifying. To him, the line between horror and action had become blurred, and even he found himself caught up in this trend. While watching a horror movie, he recalled thinking something like, "Why didn't they just kick the monster?" Realizing he had also succumbed to the action-heavy mindset, he resolved to write a horror story that harkened back to the hair-raising tales that he read in his youth by the likes of Lovecraft and Stephen King. And so, Saya no Uta was born. One of the most compelling elements of Saya no Uta is its ability to evoke sympathy for its characters, even as they commit horrific actions. The story mainly follows Fuminori, an ordinary Japanese college student who is the victim of a tragic accident. Although he survives, the ordeal leaves him perceiving the world as a waking nightmare. It's understandable that he becomes distant and withdrawn from his friends. After all, in his eyes, they appear as monstrous abominations. Then there's Saya, a being who behaves like a wild animal. While her actions, such as harming animals, are deeply unsettling, it's important to remember that she acts out of instinct rather than malice. She simply needs to survive. Saya no Uta masterfully challenges the player's perception of what is acceptable, gradually pushing the boundaries of morality. The actions of Fuminori and Saya aren't rooted in inherent evil, but are instead shaped by their dire consequences. Without giving too much away, I find myself excusing behavior that I would normally condemn. The game excels at immersing the player in Fuminori's warped reality, capturing the despair of his condition. His life is far from pleasant, and while I can't approve of what he and Saya did, I can at least understand their motivations. One fact that unnerved me is that Fuminori's condition, while fantastical, is not far from reality. Fuminori, being a medical student himself, speculates that his condition is a rare and new type of agnosia. Agnosia is a real medical condition. However, those who suffer from it are not cursed with hot dog vision and see the world as covered in rotten meat. In reality, the condition affects your ability to recognize objects or people. Usually, it only affects one sense at a time. You can see or smell an object. Your senses work just fine, but your brain is unable to process and identify the information that your eyes or nose are transmitting. Perhaps the most well-known type of agnosia is prosopagnosia, or face blindness. Many a mystery story has been written revolving on the culprit not being able to recognize faces. I can't fathom what it must be like to have your reality completely changed. It reminds me that what we perceive is nothing more than electrical signals interpreted by the brain. We would have no real way of knowing if those signals are being tampered with, since they are our only input into reality. If those signals are altered, can we even know what reality is? Let me anchor us back to reality by saying that Saya no Uta is relatively short compared to other visual novels, taking just an afternoon or two to complete. I must admit, this brevity is a big reason I gave the game a chance as a teenager, since I'm not an avid reader. However, what truly convinced me to keep playing was the game's incredible music and sound design. The first time I heard this song, I was instantly drawn in by its long, droning guitar notes that feel really heavy and oppressive, perfectly capturing the weight of Fuminori's experience. The track lingers, overbearing and unsettling, serving as an auditory representation of his hellish reality. The faint, slow drum beat in the background feels like a distant hum of a city, grounding you even further in Fuminori's distorted world. The song doesn't just thrust you into his distorted horror. Instead, it gently pulls you in, almost imperceptibly, until you find yourself immersed in his cruel existence. It's as if the song whispers, "Settle in. This frightening reality is your new normal." Even the title of the song, Schizophrenia, carries a sense of looming dread. Once the game immerses you in its twisted world, it presents this haunting piece of sound design. This is the warped way that human speech is perceived by Fuminori. Beneath the jumbled cacophony lies actual dialogue, faintly audible if you listen closely. It's not mere gibberish. The Japanese lines are distorted but still present, buried under layers of dissonance. I didn't catch this detail when I first played it, but it's an eerie touch that adds depth to Fuminori's nightmarish perception. In stark contrast to the grim reality Fuminori endures, this song plays during the player's first encounter with Saya. After an attack on the senses, the gentle melody provides a moment of respite. The delicate notes of the synth create a slightly unsettling vibe, as if something isn't entirely right. Yet, the song remains calming and soothing, underscored by a soft chorus. This melody reflects how Fuminori feels when he looks at Saya. She brings comfort to his fractured mind. She is the only person who feels normal, who feels safe, making it easy to understand why Fuminori is drawn to her. He longs to escape the horrors of the world around him, and Saya no Uta depicts some nasty horrors. I have heard grown adults claim that the game depicts some of the most horrifying scenes they've ever encountered. Saya no Uta is an adult game, and it fully embraces this freedom. It portrays deeply unsettling and disturbing elements within its world that gnaw at the edges of your psyche. From the beginning, it's clear that this is a horror game in every sense, both physically and psychologically. The game is filled with scenes designed to shock and disturb, yet it doesn't rely on gore to be shocking. The most stomach-churning events are the result of disturbing situations that challenge the notions of social convention, situations that we somehow agreed should not happen, even in fiction. Perhaps the game is a bit sensationalist, but I think as a whole, the extreme situations fit the narrative. It's a bleak and terrible world where things that would normally be safe are not. This sort of event keeps you hooked, compelled to see what happens next. Despite the darkness, it draws you in. It makes you care about the characters, weaving a narrative that is impossible to look away from. Saya no Uta is more than just a visual novel. It is a gripping experience that challenges your morals and immerses you in a world that is fascinating yet terrifying. The game uses its soundtrack to enhance the grotesque atmosphere, pulling you into the horror and then offering brief moments of calm and soothing melodies before plunging you back into the nightmare. It's a disconcerting game, but also hauntingly beautiful, with its grotesque imagery set against a twisted sense of innocence and love. Saya no Uta is my favorite visual novel, and it holds a special place in my heart. All of this is why you should play Saya no Uta. Thanks for watching. Subscribe! Ow, ow, ow.